The massive crystal walls of the war chamber gleamed under the light of 3 suns. General stood at the back of the room, his hands gripping the rail as he watched the younger officers plan their next conquest. His cybernetic eye whirred softly as it focused on the holographic display floating above the central table. "The Sol system," Admiral announced, his voice filled with excitement. "Intelligence reports show a single inhabited world. The species calls itself human. They have barely achieved basic space flight. Their weapons are primitive chemical explosives and metal projectiles." Laughter echoed through the chamber. Several junior officers made jokes about how easy this conquest would be, said nothing. His real eye stared at the rotating image of the blue and green planet called Earth. Something about it made his stomach twist. "Their largest ships are smaller than our fighters," continued the Admiral. "They have no energy shields, no plasma weapons, no quantum drives. They still burn fossil fuels on their planet's surface. This will be over in days." More laughter. Commander Ra leaned forward eagerly. "How many ships should we send? A battle group? A single cruiser?" "The entire Third Fleet," declared. "We will make an example of them. Show the galaxy what happens to worlds that do not submit to the Empire immediately." Felt his artificial fingers dig into the metal rail. The pain helped him think clearly. These young fools had no idea what they were talking about. They had never seen real war. They had never faced an enemy that fought back with true purpose. "Sir," said quietly, every head in the room turned toward him. "I request permission to speak." Admiral nodded. "Of course, General, your experience is always valued here." Stepped forward slowly. His leg still hurt from an old battle wound, making him limp slightly. The room grew quiet as he approached the holographic display. He stared at the image of Earth for a long moment. "I have fought in 47 campaigns," he said. "I have conquered 18 different species. I have seen worlds burn and empires fall." He paused, his voice growing quieter. "But there is something about this species that troubles me." "What do you mean?" asked Commander Ra. "They are clearly primitive. Our scouts confirmed it." Shook his head. "Not their technology, something else, something." He struggled to find the right words. "Wrong." The younger officers exchanged glances. Some of them smirked. Admiral frowned. "General, please explain your concerns." Activated his personal data pad. A new hologram appeared next to the image of Earth. It showed a dead world, its surface and broken. 442b. "I was there 30 years ago. We found the remains of the Dominion." Everyone in the room knew that name. They had been powerful. Their technology was advanced, their warriors fierce. They had ruled 12 star systems before they vanished. "What does this have to do with humans?" asked. "The ships were not destroyed by explosions or energy weapons," said. "They were taken apart, carefully, methodically. Every piece of technology was studied and removed. Every warrior was killed, but not in battle. They were hunted." The room grew very quiet. Continued, his voice steady but grim. "We found records in their final command bunker. The last messages spoke of a species that looked weak but fought like demons. A species that turned their own weapons against them. A species that never stopped coming, never stopped learning, never stopped adapting." "You think it was humans?" Commander Ra asked, her voice uncertain. "I found something else," said. He touched his data pad again. New text appeared in the hologram, carved deeply into metal. The words were in the human language, but the translation was clear. "You started this." That message was carved into every structure we found. Every ship, every building, every monument. Someone wanted to make sure that anyone who found them would know exactly why they died. The enthusiasm in the room had completely disappeared. Admiral studied the holographic evidence with growing concern. "But General," said a young lieutenant, "our intelligence clearly shows that humans are primitive. They have no space fleet, no energy weapons. How could they have destroyed the—" Looked at the lieutenant with his one good eye. That is exactly what worries me. If they destroyed the with primitive technology, what does that tell us about them as warriors? The question hung in the air like a bad smell. Nobody wanted to answer it. Admiral finally spoke. Your concerns are noted, General, but our orders come from the High Command itself. The Emperor wants this system conquered within the month. Besides, even if humans were somehow involved with the situation that was 30 years ago, they are clearly not a threat now. Nodded slowly. He had expected this response. The young always thought they knew better than the old. Then I request permission to accompany the fleet as tactical advisor. Granted, said. Your experience will be valuable in managing the conquest. I am sure you will see that your fears are groundless. As the meeting broke up and the officers filed out, chattering excitedly about their upcoming victory, remained behind. He stared at the holographic image of Earth, watching it slowly rotate. Such a beautiful world. Blue oceans, white clouds, green continents. It looked so peaceful. But remembered another beautiful world, once ruled by the proud. Now it was nothing but dust and ruins, marked with the message of a species that claimed it had not started the fight. He touched the scars on his face, both the real ones and the cybernetic replacements. Every mark told a story of battle, of pain, of hard-won survival. His instincts had kept him alive for decades of warfare. And right now, every instinct he had was screaming that they were about to make a terrible mistake. 3 days later, the Third Fleet departed for Earth. General stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching the stars shift as they entered hyperspace. In his mind, he could still see those carved words, "You started this." He just hoped that this time, someone would be left alive to learn from the warning. The Third Fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system like a pack of metal predators. 200 warships, each one capable of destroying a planet, spread out in perfect formation. Their hulls gleamed with energy shields and plasma cannons that could melt mountains. General stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching the sensor displays. Admiral paced excitedly behind him, already planning the victory celebration. Sensors show the human home world, reported the navigation officer. Third planet from their star. Population approximately 8 billion. No orbital defenses detected. No orbital defenses, laughed. This will be easier than I thought. Open a communication channel. Let us introduce ourselves to these primitives. But before the communication officer could respond, his console beeped. Sir, we are receiving an incoming transmission. Source is a small vessel approaching from the direction of their home world. Frowned. A small vessel, how small? Approximately 50 meters long, single hull, no visible weapons. The admiral snorted. They send one tiny ship to face our entire fleet. Their stupidity knows no bounds, except their transmission. The main screen flickered to life. A human face appeared, female with dark hair and calm brown eyes. She wore a simple blue uniform with no visible rank markings. When she smiled, it looked genuine and friendly. Greetings, the human said. I am Dr. Sarah, representing Earth's diplomatic corps. We welcome you to our solar system. May I come aboard your ship to discuss peaceful relations? Turn 2 with amusement. Peaceful relations. Do they not understand that we are here to conquer them? But was studying the image carefully. Something about the human woman bothered him. Her smile was pleasant, but her eyes never stopped moving. Even while she spoke, she was looking at everything visible on their bridge, studying it, learning from it. Very well, said to the screen. You may board our ship, but know that you come here to surrender your world to the might of the Empire. Of course, Doctor replied, her smile never wavering. I look forward to our discussion. The transmission ended, turned to his officers. Prepare a security detail. This should be amusing. A single primitive human trying to negotiate with the entire Third Fleet. Said nothing, but he made sure his sidearm was charged. 20 minutes later, the human shuttle docked with their ship. Doctor emerged from the airlock, followed by two human males in matching gray uniforms. The humans looked completely calm, as if visiting a massive alien war fleet was something they did every day. Watch them carefully as they walked through the ship's corridors. The two guards moved with perfect coordination, their steps silent despite their heavy boots. Their eyes constantly scanned their surroundings, noting every door, every corridor, every possible threat or escape route. But it was more than that. These humans moved like predators, not the clumsy, obvious aggression of the warriors, but something more subtle, more dangerous. In the main conference room, Doctor was offered a seat at the large table. She accepted gracefully and waited, while Admiral took his position at the head of the table, surrounded by his senior officers. "Human," began in his most commanding voice, "you will instruct your people to surrender immediately. Resistance is futile. Our technology is far superior to anything your species possesses." Doctor nodded thoughtfully. "Your ships are quite impressive. May I ask about their power source? The energy readings we detected suggest some form of fusion core, but the efficiency seems remarkably high." Blinked in surprise. That was not the response he had expected. "You detected our energy readings?" "Oh yes," Doctor said cheerfully. "We've been studying your fleet since you arrived. Fascinating technology. The hull alloy appears to be a titanium-vanadium composite with crystalline reinforcement. Very clever. And those weapons systems, plasma-based, I assume. The magnetic containment fields must require enormous amounts of power." Felt cold dread creeping up his spine. The human was describing their technology with casual accuracy, as if she had examined their ships personally. "How do you know these details?" asked quietly. Doctor turned to look at him, and for just a moment her friendly expression flickered. Underneath, saw something that made his blood freeze. Intelligence. Cold, calculating intelligence that missed nothing and forgot nothing. "We're naturally curious about new visitors," she said, the pleasant smile returning. "Your ship designs are quite elegant, though I notice some potential improvements that might interest you." "Improvements," sputtered. "You primitive creatures think you can improve our technology." "Perhaps," Doctor said. "For instance, your shield generators appear to operate on a rotating frequency cycle. Very effective against most energy weapons, I'm sure. But there might be ways to optimize the power distribution for better efficiency." She was right. Knew she was right because he had worked on those exact systems for years. But how could a primitive human know details that took engineers decades to develop? Doctor interrupted. "May I ask what your background is?" "Xenobiology and comparative technology," she replied. "I study how different species develop their tools and weapons. It's fascinating how evolution shapes both biology and technology in similar ways." The way she said weapons made skin crawl. "Speaking of evolution," Doctor continued, "I'd love to learn more about physiology. Your respiratory system, for example, it must be quite different from ours to handle the atmosphere on your ships, and those cybernetic implants." She looked directly at its artificial eye. "Remarkable integration with organic tissue." Admiral slammed his fist on the table. "Enough! We did not come here to discuss technology with primitives. You will surrender your world or we will take it by force." Doctor looked mildly surprised. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were in a hurry. Of course, we should discuss terms." "Terms?" laughed harshly. "There are no terms, surrender or die." "I see," Doctor said. "Well, in that case, perhaps you would like to see what Earth has to offer before making your final decision. I'd be happy to give you a tour of some of our facilities." "You want to show us your defenses?" asked. "Among other things," Doctor replied. "We believe in hospitality. Besides, it might help you understand why immediate conquest might not be as simple as you think." The two human guards had remained silent throughout the conversation, but noticed they never relaxed. They stood in positions that gave them clear lines of sight to every exit and every weapon in the room. When Doctor spoke about showing them Earth's facilities, both guards smiled slightly. It was not a pleasant expression. Admiral considered the offer. "Very well, we will see these facilities of yours. But understand this, human, we are not tourists. We are conquerors. Nothing you show us will change that." "Of course," Doctor said, standing smoothly. "I wouldn't dream of changing your minds. I just want to make sure you have all the information you need to make the best decision for your people." As they prepared to leave for Earth's surface, caught one of the human guards looking directly at him. The human nodded slightly, as if acknowledging a fellow warrior. That scared more than anything else that had happened. The transport shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere like a falling star. Admiral sat in the passenger section with 50 of his best warriors, all armed and ready for trouble, but kept his attention on Doctor, who sat calmly reading from a small device while the planet grew larger beneath them. "Beautiful world," she commented, looking out the window. "We're quite fond of it." The shuttle landed at what appeared to be a military facility. Simple concrete buildings spread across several square kilometers, surrounded by walls and guard posts. Human soldiers in green uniforms stood at attention as the alien delegation disembarked. Studied these soldiers carefully. They carried what looked like primitive projectile weapons, metal barrels that fired chemical explosives. Their equipment appeared crude compared to energy weapons, but something about them made his combat instincts tingle with warning. "Welcome to Training Facility 847, Doctor announced as they walked toward the main building. "This is one of our basic military installations." "Basic?" Admiral sneered. "It looks primitive even by your species standards." "We prefer functionality over appearance," Doctor replied. "Though I should mention, this is just one of our smaller facilities. We have approximately 3,000 similar installations around the planet." "Stopped walking, 3,000 for a single world." "Oh, that's just for basic training," Doctor said casually. "We have separate facilities for specialized training, advanced weapons development, strategic planning, and various other military functions." The numbers made no sense. Why would a peaceful species need so many military facilities? Looked around with new eyes. The human soldiers stood too straight, moved too precisely. Their eyes tracked every movement of the alien visitors with mechanical precision. They entered the main building, where a human officer waited to greet them. He was older than the others, with gray hair and numerous scars on his visible skin. "Colonel Harrison," Doctor said, "these are our visitors from the Empire." Colonel Harrison nodded politely. "Welcome to Earth. I understand you're interested in seeing our capabilities." "We are here to accept your surrender," corrected. "Of course," Harrison replied without changing expression. "Doctor mentioned that. Shall we begin the tour?" They walked through training areas where human recruits practiced with their weapons. Everything looked ordinary enough: humans shooting at targets, running obstacle courses, practicing hand-to-hand combat, but noticed details that bothered him. The humans moved with unnatural coordination. When one group finished an exercise, they reformed into new units without any visible commands being given. Their movements were so synchronized they looked like parts of a single organism. "How long do your soldiers train?" asked. "Basic training is 12 weeks, Colonel Harrison replied, "though most of our people begin preparation much earlier." "Preparation?" "Physical education starts in childhood," Doctor explained. "Games that teach teamwork, strategy, and problem-solving. We believe in starting young." They passed a group of human children playing in a fenced area near the facility. The children waved at the alien visitors, smiling and laughing, but noticed how quickly they had assessed the new arrivals. Their play had stopped immediately when the aliens appeared. Every child's eyes tracked the movement of weapons and armor with the same precision as the adult soldiers. One child, no more than 6 years old, pointed at Admiral's sidearm and said something to his companion. Both children nodded and returned to their game, but had heard enough human language by now to understand the words. Plasma-based, effective range approximately 200 meters, vulnerable to electromagnetic interference. Human children were analyzing weapons systems like trained military specialists. Your offspring seem quite observant, said carefully. Children are naturally curious, Doctor replied. We encourage them to ask questions and learn about everything around them. They continued the tour, visiting armories filled with human weapons. Colonel Harrison picked up one of their rifles and demonstrated its operation. The weapon looked crude but well-maintained. Every human they had seen carried similar equipment with the casual familiarity of lifelong use. These projectile weapons seem limited compared to energy-based systems, Admiral observed. They have certain advantages, Harrison replied. Simplicity, reliability, ease of manufacture, and they're quite effective within their operational parameters. Against unarmored targets, perhaps, said dismissively. Harrison's expression didn't change. Would you like a demonstration? Before anyone could answer, an alarm began sounding. Human soldiers immediately moved to defensive positions with fluid efficiency. Doctor checked her communication device. Ah, she said, perfect timing. We have a situation in the holding area. One of our captured specimens has broken containment. Specimens asked. Research animals, Colonel Harrison explained. We study various predatory species to better understand combat dynamics. This particular creature is quite dangerous. Perhaps you'd like to observe how we handle the situation. They were led to an observation deck overlooking a large concrete chamber. Inside the chamber, a massive beast prowled back and forth. Recognized the species, a war beast, engineered for maximum aggression and lethality. Its claws could slice through armor plating, its hide could stop energy weapons, and its speed was enough to overwhelm multiple armed opponents. How did you acquire a war beast? Asked, though he feared he already knew the answer. We found it on a dead world, Doctor replied, along with several others, fascinating creatures, very efficient killers. A single human soldier entered the chamber. He carried no weapons, no armor, nothing but his standard uniform. The war beast immediately focused on him, its eyes glowing with predatory hunger. Your soldier will be killed, Admiral protested. Those creatures require an entire squad to subdue safely. Do they? Doctor asked mildly. The war beast charged. The human soldier moved aside with minimal effort, his movements precise and economical. The creature spun and attacked again. The human caught its claws with his bare hands, twisted smoothly, and broke its neck with a single sharp motion. The entire fight lasted less than 30 seconds. The observation deck fell silent except for the soft hum of ventilation systems. The human soldier checked the beast's body briefly, then walked calmly out of the chamber. Hal whispered. Practice, Colonel Harrison said simply. We've been dealing with aggressive species for quite some time. Felt sick. A war beast killed barehanded by a single human. He had seen entire squads of warriors struggle against such creatures. That soldier asked, is he one of your elite specialists? Oh no, Doctor replied. Private Miller is just finishing his basic training. He volunteered to help with the demonstration. Basic training, repeated. We believe in thorough preparation, Doctor said. After all, you never know what kinds of threats you might encounter in the galaxy. As they prepared to return to their ship, Admiral had grown unusually quiet. The easy confidence from the morning had evaporated, but could see the Admiral's pride still fighting against the evidence of his own eyes. Doctor walked beside them as they headed back to the shuttle. I hope you found our facilities informative. Earth has so much more to show you if you're interested in a longer visit. "We have seen enough," said stiffly. "Of course," Doctor replied. "Though I should mention, this was just one of our basic training facilities. We have much more impressive installations if you'd like to see our advanced capabilities." Didn't want to see their advanced capabilities. He had seen enough. Every human they had encountered moved like a trained killer. Their children analyzed weapons. Their basic trainees could kill war beasts with their bare hands. And Doctor spoke about it all with the casual politeness of someone discussing the weather. As the shuttle lifted off from Earth's surface, looked down at the planet below. From space, it looked so peaceful, green and blue and white, spinning slowly in the void. But now he knew better. That peaceful world was covered with military installations. Billions of humans, all of them apparently soldiers from childhood, all of them studying, preparing, practicing for war. And they had been doing it for thousands of years. Back aboard the flagship, Admiral paced the bridge like a caged animal. The easy confidence from this morning was gone, replaced by wounded pride and growing anger. Stood at the sensor station, watching Earth rotate slowly below them. "Sir," the communications officer reported, "the fleet commanders are requesting instructions." Stopped packing. His jaw was clenched tight with fury. Those arrogant primitives think they can intimidate us with parlor tricks. One soldier killing a war beast means nothing. We have 200 warships. Admiral said carefully, "Perhaps we should consider strategic withdrawal. Gather more intelligence before." Withdrawal spun to face him. From a world of primitives, never. The Emperor expects conquest, and conquest he shall have. Had seen this before. Young officers whose pride was hurt, making decisions with their emotions instead of their minds. It usually ended badly. "Admiral, I strongly recommend." "Enough," commanded. "All ships prepare for orbital bombardment. Target their major population centers. Let's see how confident these humans are when their cities are burning." "Sir," the weapons officer called out, "bombardment solutions calculated and locked. Awaiting your order." Walked to the main display, where targeting data showed Earth's largest cities highlighted in red, 8 billion humans. Most of them would die in the next few minutes. "Fire." The weapons officer pressed his controls. 200 warships turned their planet-killing weapons toward Earth. Enough firepower to crack continents, to boil oceans, to turn a living world into a ball of molten rock. For exactly 3 seconds, energy beams lanced down toward the planet's surface. Then everything stopped. "What happened?" demanded. The weapons officer was frantically checking his controls. "Sir, all weapons have ceased firing. The targeting computers show no locks. It's as if our systems just shut down." "Impossible. Reset the systems and fire again." Was studying the sensor displays when he saw something that made his blood turn cold. "Admiral, you need to see this." On the main screen, Earth's surface was unchanged. No cities burned. No craters marked where their weapons had struck, but something else had appeared. Ships, dozens of them, rising from what had seemed like empty space around Earth. Sleek, dark vessels that hadn't been there moments before. "Where did they come from?" whispered. They were already there, realized. They were cloaked, hidden, waiting. More ships appeared, materializing out of nothing around the fleet. Hundreds of them. They moved with perfect coordination, surrounding the 200 alien warships in a matter of minutes. The communication system crackled to life. Doctor's face appeared on the screen, still wearing that pleasant smile. "Thank you for the targeting data," she said politely. "It was very helpful." "What are you talking about?" sputtered. "Your weapon systems provided us with detailed scans of your ship's energy signatures, shield frequencies, and defensive capabilities. We've been analyzing the data since you started your attack run. Quite impressive technology, though we've made some improvements." As she spoke, the human ships began firing. But these weren't the primitive projectile weapons they had seen on Earth's surface. Beams of energy lanced out from the human vessels, striking shields with surgical precision. The shields held for perhaps 2 seconds, then they collapsed completely. Impossible, breathed. Our shields can withstand anything. Not anything, Doctor interrupted. Just everything you've encountered before. We spent the afternoon studying your defensive systems, fascinating frequency rotation patterns. Once we understood the mathematics, it was simple to generate the appropriate counter-frequencies. Watched in horror as human weapons sliced through defenses like they didn't exist. But the human ships weren't trying to destroy the alien fleet. Instead, they were surgically disabling each vessel. Engines went offline. Weapons systems failed. Life support remained intact, but nothing else worked. Admiral, the sensor officer reported, his voice shaking. We've lost main engines, weapons offline, communications limited to short range only. The humans they're boarding us. Through the bridge's main viewport, could see small human craft attaching to ships throughout the fleet. Cutting tools sparked against hull plating as the humans forced their way inside. How many troops do they have? Demanded. Sir, came a terrified voice over the communication system. This is Captain Al on the Crimson Spear, the humans. There are only 6 of them, 6. But they're moving through our ship like ghosts. Our warriors can't even slow them down. They know exactly where everything is, exactly how to disable our systems. It's like they've studied our ships for years. More reports flooded in. Human boarding parties, usually numbering fewer than 10 soldiers, were taking control of massive warships crewed by thousands. They moved with impossible efficiency, striking at critical systems while avoiding unnecessary casualties. This is impossible, repeated. How can so few defeat so many? Doctor's image reappeared on their screens. Experience, Admiral. We've been fighting each other for our entire evolutionary history. War isn't something we learned, it's something we evolved to do. Every conflict teaches us more about tactics, strategy, and technology. Your primitives, screamed. Your technology is inferior. Was inferior, Doctor corrected gently. Past tense. Every scan you took of our ships, every sensor sweep of our planet, every question we asked about your technology, all of it was intelligence gathering. We now have complete specifications for every system in your fleet. Felt the final pieces falling into place. You never intended to surrender. This was all planned. Of course, Doctor said. We detected your fleet 3 days ago, the moment you entered our solar system. We've been preparing ever since. 3 days, said. In 3 days you analyzed our technology and built weapons to counter it. Oh no, Doctor replied. We built the weapons years ago, after studying the wreckage on 442B. That had excellent records of military capabilities. We just needed to see your ships in person to confirm our assumptions were correct. Though of course, the humans hadn't just defeated that species, they had studied them, learned from them, prepared for the next threat to arrive. You see, Doctor continued, humans have a saying, know your enemy. We've been studying the galaxy for quite some time now. Every species that might pose a threat, every military technology, every tactical doctrine. Knowledge is the ultimate weapon. On the screen beside Doctor could see star charts. Detailed maps showing space with every colony, every fleet base, every hidden installation clearly marked. We know where you live, Doctor said softly. We know how many ships you have, how many soldiers, how many weapons. We know your supply lines, your communication networks, your leadership structures. We've known for years. Why didn't you attack us first? Asked. Because we're not conquerors, Doctor replied. We're defenders, but when someone threatens our home, her pleasant expression never changed, but her eyes grew cold as winter stars. Well, that changes things. Collapsed into his command chair as the full scope of their situation became clear. Every ship in his fleet was disabled. His warriors were being systematically captured by tiny groups of human soldiers. And Earth, primitive, defenseless Earth, had never been in any danger at all. "What do you want from us?" he whispered. "Nothing," Doctor said. "You came here to conquer us. We defended ourselves. Now you get to go home and tell your people what happened here." "You're letting us go." "One ship," Doctor said, "with one survivor to carry our message back to your empire." Admiral looked around his bridge at his officers, his warriors, his crew, all of them waiting to die. Who? Doctor's eyes found on the screen. "The general. He tried to warn you. He deserves to live with the knowledge that he was right." Felt cold understanding wash over him. He would survive, but he would have to live with the memory of this day. The day his entire species learned they were not the apex predators they had always believed themselves to be. General floated alone in space, watching through the small viewport of his escape pod as human soldiers moved through the flagship's corridors. They walked in perfect formation, their movements coordinated like dancers performing a deadly ballet. Admiral was already dead, not killed in combat, but executed after he tried to detonate the ship's reactor in a final act of spite. The humans had stopped him effortlessly. Through his communication system, he could hear the last desperate messages from his fleet. Ship after ship reporting the same thing. Human boarding parties moving through their vessels like unstoppable forces of nature. Warriors, trained from birth to be the galaxy's most feared soldiers, falling before humans who treated war like a science they had perfected over. The final transmission came from Captain on the Star Cruiser Thunder of Empire. "General, they're in the command center, but they're not killing us. They're studying us, taking biological samples, scanning our equipment, recording everything. It's like we're specimens in some vast experiment." Then silence. Spod drifted away from the battle site, its automated navigation system carrying him toward the edge of the solar system where he could engage the hyperspace drive. Behind him, the human ships had formed a perfect perimeter around the captured fleet. Not one alien vessel had escaped. Not one distress signal had gotten through. Only him, only the one they had chosen to let go. As his pod reached safe hyperspace distance, a final transmission reached him. Doctor's face appeared on his small communication screen, her expression as pleasant and friendly as it had been during their first meeting. "General," she said, "I wanted to speak with you before you leave our system." "Why?" asked. "Why spare me? Why let me carry your message?" "Because you understand," Doctor replied. "You tried to warn them. You recognized the danger when others saw only opportunity. That makes you valuable to us." "Valuable how?" Doctor's smile never wavered, but her eyes became distant, calculating. "You're going to go home and tell your people exactly what happened here. You're going to describe how easily we defeated your fleet, how thoroughly we studied your technology, how completely we understand your military capabilities." Felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold of space. "You want me to spread fear." "We want you to spread truth," Doctor corrected. "Fear is just a side effect of understanding reality." On his screen, she held up a small device. "This contains complete technical specifications for every piece of technology in your fleet. Engine designs, weapon systems, shield generators, communication arrays, everything. We reverse engineered it all in the 3 days since you arrived." Stared at the device in horror. Centuries of technological development, stolen and analyzed in 3 days. "But that's not the important part," Doctor continued. "The important part is what we've done with that knowledge." New images appeared on his screen. Spacecraft under construction in vast orbital shipyards around Earth. But these weren't human designs, they were ships, but improved. Faster engines, more powerful weapons, stronger shields. "We don't just copy technology, General, we perfect it. Every design you showed us has been optimized, upgraded, enhanced. Your ships were impressive. Ours are better." More images flowed past. Thousands of ships, tens of thousands, all built from stolen technology but superior in every way. Impossible, whispered. That would take decades to build. For you, perhaps, Doctor said. But humans are very good at industrial production when we put our minds to it. We've had practice. The final image showed Earth itself, but not as had seen it during their visit. This was a view from high orbit, showing the planet's true face. The entire world was covered in manufacturing facilities, military bases, shipyards, research installations. The peaceful blue and green world was actually the most militarized planet had ever seen. 8 billion humans, Doctor said softly. All of them soldiers in one way or another. All of them working toward the same goal, making sure that no one ever threatens our home again. What do you want from us? Asked. Nothing, Doctor replied. We want you to leave us alone. We want your empire to look at other directions for expansion. We want you to find someone else to conquer, someone who won't fight back as effectively as we do. She leaned forward, her friendly expression becoming something much colder. But if you don't learn from this lesson, if your people decide to try again with a larger fleet or better weapons or different tactics, then we'll come to you. We know where you live, General. We know where all of your people live. The communication ended. Spod engaged its hyperspace drive and leaped away from the Sol system, carrying him home across the vast emptiness between stars. The journey took 3 weeks. 3 weeks of floating alone in the dark, replaying the events over and over in his mind. 3 weeks of trying to understand how his entire worldview had been shattered in a single day. When he finally arrived at space, the reception was exactly what he had expected. Disbelief, anger, accusations of cowardice. The High Command refused to accept that their mighty Third Fleet had been destroyed by primitives. Until he showed them the recordings. The war room fell silent as they watched human ships materialize out of nothing around their fleet. Silent as they saw shields fail in seconds. Silent as they witnessed their most advanced warships being captured by handfuls of human soldiers. This is impossible, High Admiral declared. You fabricated these recordings to cover your own failure. Activated the final transmission Doctor had sent with him. The star charts appeared on the main display, showing every world, every fleet base, every secret installation. All of it mapped with perfect accuracy. They know where we live, said quietly. They know everything about us, and they've been preparing for war while we thought they were primitive. The room erupted in angry voices, demands for immediate retaliation, calls for the mobilization of the entire Imperial fleet, but stood quietly in the center of it all, waiting for the noise to die down. When silence finally returned, he spoke in the voice of a soldier who had seen too much. You want to send more ships, send them. You want to develop better weapons, develop them. It won't matter. The humans have been fighting for millions of years. War is what they are. War is what they do. War is what they've evolved to be perfect at. He gestured toward the recordings still playing on the screens around them. We thought we were apex predators. We were wrong. We're prey. We've always been prey. We just never met a real predator before. High Admiral started to object, but cut him off. They let me live to bring you a message. One message. Never fight humanity again. He looked around the room at the assembled leaders of the Empire. Warriors who had conquered a dozen species, who ruled hundreds of worlds, who commanded fleets that could destroy star systems. Because if we do, continued, they won't just defeat us. They'll study us. They'll learn from us. They'll take everything we are and make it better, and then they'll use it against the next species that threatens them. The room remained silent for a long time. Finally, High Admiral spoke. What do you recommend, General? Thought of Doctor's pleasant smile, of human children analyzing weapons, of a single soldier killing a war beast with his bare hands. He thought of Earth, covered in military installations and hidden shipyards, 8 billion soldiers all working toward the same goal. "We find someone else to conquer," he said. "Someone who hasn't been preparing for war since before they discovered fire. Someone who won't smile politely while they tear us apart." He turned toward the exit, then paused. "And we pray that we never give the humans a reason to visit us." As left the war room, he could hear the arguing begin again behind him. Some of them would listen to his warning. Others would demand revenge, convinced that pride was worth more than survival. But it didn't matter what they decided. The message had been delivered. The humans had made their position clear. Leave us alone, or learn what real predators can do. Walked through the crystal corridors of the High Command, past the monuments to imperial victory, past the statues of conquered species. All of it built on the assumption that they were the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. Now he knew better. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, 8 billion humans were working, building, preparing. Not for conquest, but for the next threat that would inevitably come. And when it did, they would be ready.